4 months had passed since Ethan Carter, CEO of Carter Enterprises, had signed away his marriage with a single stroke of his pen. The divorce settlement had been clean, fast, and devoid of drama, at least on paper. He had walked away thinking it was the logical choice. After all, his empire was growing at a pace that demanded every ounce of his focus, and Olivia, she deserved more than a husband who was always absent. Or at least, that's what he told himself. But late at night, in his penthouse office with the skyline stretching endlessly, her silence haunted him. Olivia hadn't shouted, hadn't begged, hadn't fought for him. She had simply nodded, signed, and walked away. And that quiet dignity gnawed at him more than any tears ever could. Ethan buried himself in work, attending endless board meetings, sealing billion-dollar deals, and telling himself he was fine. Yet deep down, there was a hollow ache he couldn't name. That evening, dressed in a sharp black suit, he was on his way to a client's charity gala at the Crown Hotel. His chauffeur had just dropped him off a block away, and as he adjusted his cufflinks, something, or rather, someone, caught his eye across the street. He stilled. Olivia. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, strands escaping around her face. She wore a simple cream dress and carried a small tote bag with a few books peeking out. But what stole his breath was the unmistakable swell beneath the fabric of her dress. Her belly, round, prominent, pregnant. Ethan's blood ran cold. 4 months since the divorce, 4 months. His chest tightened with a storm of emotions, confusion, anger, hope, betrayal. Who was the father? How could she move on so fast? Or, God help him, had she been pregnant when they divorced? Before he could stop himself, he stepped off the curb, ignoring the blaring horns and curses of drivers as he strode across the street. His heart hammered like a drum. Olivia. His voice was rough, desperate, carrying louder than he intended. She froze. Slowly, she turned, her wide eyes meeting his. Surprise flickered there, followed quickly by something sharper, defensiveness. Her hand immediately went to her belly, protective and instinctive. Ethan. Her voice was quiet, almost wary. For a moment, the world fell away. The city noise dulled, the neon lights blurred. All he saw was her, his ex-wife, carrying a life inside her. His throat closed up, and he had to force the words out. You're pregnant. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Observant as always, he blinked, his composure shattering. And you never told me. You hid this from me. His voice rose, not in anger alone but in disbelief, in hurt. Olivia looked away, her fingers tightening on the strap of her bag. You lost the right to know the moment you signed those papers. The words sliced through him like a blade. For the first time in years, Ethan Carter, the man who commanded boardrooms and toppled rivals without breaking a sweat, stood on a sidewalk utterly powerless. His gaze dropped again to her stomach, his mind racing. If the child was his, if she had been carrying his baby when she walked away. Ethan's jaw tightened, his voice low but trembling. Olivia, tell me the truth. Is it mine? Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. He had faced hostile takeovers, cutthroat negotiations, and ruthless competitors, but nothing compared to the fear gnawing at him now. He could handle losing a deal. He wasn't sure he could handle losing his child. Olivia, he said again, softer this time, almost pleading. Answer me. Is it mine? Her lips trembled, but her eyes stayed guarded. She looked at him like a man she used to know, but no longer trusted. Why now, Ethan? Why do you suddenly care? Her voice cracked. You made it clear I wasn't enough for you. You made it clear the company came first. Ethan flinched. The accusation was true, but hearing it aloud twisted his gut. Memories surged. Long nights at the office, canceled dinners, her waiting alone at their dining table. He had told himself she understood, that it was temporary. But it hadn't been. It had been their undoing. That's not true, he said hoarsely. I thought we had more time. I thought once things settled at the company, we could. He stopped, raking a hand through his hair. Damn it, Olivia, I was a fool. I should have been there. Her eyes glistened, but her expression hardened. And yet, you weren't. The streetlights flickered overhead, cars passing, strangers glancing curiously at the tense pair frozen on the sidewalk. But for Ethan, it felt like the world had narrowed to just the two of them. Olivia, please, he whispered. Don't shut me out. If that child is mine, I deserve to know. I deserve a chance to be a father. She let out a shaky laugh, bitter and fragile. A father? You couldn't even be a husband. Do you know how many nights I cried myself to sleep, Ethan? How many times I prayed you'd come home early, just once. You signed the papers like I meant nothing. Why should I believe you'll stay now? Ethan's chest ached with guilt. He reached for her hand, but she stepped back, clutching her belly protectively. That simple movement hit him harder than any blow. He realized then, it wasn't just about her. It was about the tiny life she carried. His child. Their child. I can't change what I did, he admitted, his voice breaking. But I can change what I do now. Let me prove it to you, Olivia. Let me prove it to them. His eyes flicked to her belly, then back to hers. Her resolve wavered. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. I didn't tell you, she confessed quietly, because I didn't want this child to grow up feeling unwanted. I didn't want them to hear the arguments, the slammed doors, the silence that felt colder than hate. I left because I had to protect them from that. Ethan's throat tightened. She had walked away not out of indifference, but out of love, for their baby. And he had almost lost both without even knowing. Olivia, he said, stepping closer, his voice raw, stripped of all pride. This isn't about second chances for us. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But let me be part of this. Let me be a father. Don't let my mistakes define our child's future. Tears spilled down her cheeks. She looked at him for a long moment, torn between the man who had broken her heart and the man now standing in front of her, desperate and sincere. Finally, she whispered, this isn't about whether I can trust you as my husband again, Ethan. This is about whether I can trust you as a father. Can you choose us this time? Not the company. Not your empire. Us. The words hit him with the weight of a verdict. Ethan Carter, the man who had conquered industries, realized that this was the one battle that truly mattered. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking like a CEO. He was thinking like a man on the edge of losing the only thing that truly mattered, his family. And he knew, without a shred of doubt, that this was one fight he couldn't afford to lose. Her eyes filled with a storm of emotions, but her lips refused to move. And in that silence, Ethan realized that the past he thought was behind him was about to crash back into his life, with consequences he wasn't prepared for.